Welcome, friends. Let's start this morning with a chant inviting all the holy beings in to be with us. Does the sound okay to you all? Can you hear it? Yeah? We're good? Okay, excellent. And our tech angel will bring one up.
Since burning, all space is filled with the fragrance. All who smell it from afar. All species clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas.
Taking a moment just to feel that invitation to the holy beings to come and join us this morning for Dharma. Holy beings are not very interested in physical incense, but what does gladden their hearts tremendously is our efforts at modeling and radiating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and good fortune of others, and being at peace in the midst of it all. And the more we can do that, the more we remove suffering from our own lives. At the same time, we're making that Deva realm or the angel realm, however we see that other realm, we're actually making them quite happy too. We're giving them beautiful spiritual incense, clouds of beautiful incense. So, and it's contagious. Our actions, our emotions, especially, are very contagious. We've all sensed that when we walked into a room with people who are just laughing, really belly laughing. You can't sit in that room very long. You don't need to know what they're laughing about. The next thing you know, you're laughing with them. And so our emotions are contagious. And so guarding our emotions, catching them when they're still in thought form, before they come out of the mouth, or even worse, come out in an unskillful action. Catching those right away, feeling into it. And for me, there's many different ways of working with this, but one good way that seems to help me tremendously is to notice, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. If I don't open my mouth and start pointing at what it is out there, or start going off on somebody, or my poor dog, if I can stop it at that moment and just go, okay, where in the body am I feeling this? Where does that frustration resonate? Sometimes it's the throat. Sometimes it's the heart area. Sometimes it's the stomach. Wherever that is, if I can find it, feel it. Just notice, what does it feel like? What's the tightness? and watch it. Find it, feel it, and watch it. And if we can do those three things, by the time we've watched it for a little bit, it dissolves. It is so magical. What an amazing, wonderful ability we have. If we can remember to be mindful in the moment when it arises. Okay. So today, I usually, when I do a Dharma talk, I don't usually give it a title, I just do a Dharma talk. But this one felt like this needs a title. And so, so the title on this talk is, what are we really? Let's take a moment to just kind of sit with that question. What, or maybe who, the other way of phrasing it is, who am I? Who am I? Just notice what comes up when you ask yourself that inner question. Just go inside for a moment and ask yourself that inner question. Who am I? And then notice, and you can ask yourself, who am I? And it comes up, well, often our name will come up first. Then our relationships. I'm Richard's wife. I'm Buddha Doug's person. All of these different relationships will come up. And then when we work through those different relationships, then we would find our career. Well, I'm a doctor. I'm an acupuncturist. It takes a long time before you get to the final thing where you go, who am I? If I weren't that, if you go through the list and say, if I weren't that, would I still exist? And the answer is yes. If I wasn't Richard's wife, I would still exist. If I wasn't Buddha Doug's person, I would still exist. If I wasn't a doctor, I would still exist. If I, and finally you get down to, well, I don't know. After you pare away all those mind, conditioned states of mind that tell us, that give us an identity and create the illusion of a solid, separate self. It takes a long time to get through the list before I realize I am one with all. But that's the truth at the final analysis. We are. We're one with it all. And in the final analysis, really, what we're finally made up of, what's actually there when you pare it all away, is just love or light. To me, those two words, when you get to that level, those words are synonymous. Love and light. So I'm going to invite you to go inside one more time. And we're going to work with a form of meditation that is also could be called a contemplation or just a visualization. So let's go inside for a moment. And I know this bell, when we ring the bell, it sounds beautiful in this room, but out there for you all out on the internet, it goes clank. And so I'm going to try something just to see if this works a little better. I'm just going to ring it right here closer to the microphone. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I welcome you and invite you to go inside. Just feeling your body sitting here. taking a moment to notice. Just notice what the body's feeling. Tightness in certain areas. If you move just a little bit, maybe you feel a pinching here. Just allowing it to be what it is. We're not trying to make it different than it is in this moment. We're just noticing what's true. Noticing that the body is breathing. So I invite you, with each in-breath, to imagine or intend that light from the source of our being, whatever that is to you. Some like to think of it as God. Some like to think of it as the Great Spirit. Source, the singularity, whatever that is, that's the source of all of it. See that as raining down light, love. With each in-breath, you get to breathe in that light and love. And on each out-breath, imagine that all your human frailties are being dissolved by the light in the same way that the sunrise dissolves the darkness of the night. So that's the entire practice right there. In imagining or intending light and love from the source raining down upon us, and we're breathing it in. The outbreath, all of our human frailties are being dissolved like the night dissolves with the rising sun. Let's just take some moments to experience this. So keep that right there. Keep that going. Keep soaking in that beautiful love and light. And allow yourself to absorb the lyrics to this song.
family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. I am 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 divinity divine. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. Sitting right here, just glowing with that essence of light and love that we actually are at our essence, just sitting in it, being with it. just sitting in the love and light that we are, and feeling those showers of golden grace, the light and the love showering on us from our source. We're just a ray of light from that source. So whenever you feel ready, relax. We're going to come back to the material realm. We're going to talk in words, which is someplace we weren't when we were just being the light. Okay, so we're really a spiritual being having a temporary material existence. And this is a great opportunity. We chose to be in this realm because we can really learn when we're here. Not because it's so beautiful and blissful, like when we're just sitting in the essence of what we truly are. We probably wouldn't grow that much from that. If you just let the rose bush sit out there in the garden and you never trim it, pretty soon you get a lot of scraggly branches, but you don't have a lot of roses. It takes pruning for us to get roses. Do you think that's comfortable for the rose bush when we come in there with those floppers go on its little stem? No, I bet it's not. I know the difficulties of life that purify us are definitely not comfortable. But we've got to get uncomfortable. Got to be willing to get uncomfortable and look at it. Look directly at it. When we do that, it goes away quicker. If we can actually watch it, instead of getting caught up in that mental whirlwind of, I'm right, he's wrong. This is how things are. You think it's different, so you're wrong. There's so much selfing in that. Self is such a clear path to suffering. The more selfing we do, the more we're going to hurt. The more our heart's going to hurt, the more our body's going to be tense, the more our immune system is going to be whacked. We've got all these wonderful tools. The Buddha gave us so many wonderful tools to work with to uproot these human frailties. It's all part of having a human animal in this symbiotic relationship with that essence that is the pure light. And we grow, and we bloom, and we become things of great beauty. We transform our lower tendencies into the spiritual incense we were chanting about. We do this not only for ourselves, we do it for the benefit of all beings. Because like we were talking about how laughter is contagious, it's all contagious. If we're being grumpy, if we're being irritable, boy, Richard and I can vouch for that as a couple. If one of us goes up and gets irritable,
It's so hard to hold your space, to be a large container for that dear one to bounce around in until they catch it, till they remember, oh, wait a minute, my human animal is chewing on my spiritual slippers again. And then, but that's really what we each have to do in relationship, be it our mate, which is the best testing ground. Whoever your mate is, they are the greatest gift because they really will test you to the core. And we can be pretty good with other folks, but right, with other folks, we can be pretty good. But if you want to see how far along you've come in your transformation, look at how you used to treat your mate. And how do you treat them now? Have you come a long ways? Are you guys better together now than you were 5 years ago? We definitely are. And then the worst thing I think we can do is, or the best thing, depending on the situation or how we perceive it, is if I start getting really frustrated and I'm already way past catching it. I'm not going to catch this one. I'm already, my mouth is spouting off and it's not a pretty picture. And the poor man is catching the spiritual cigar smoke. And he says something that's very true, like, would you like it if I treated you with that lack of respect? Boy, that could either add gasoline to that fire and then we're at it. Or if that can be my wake-up call. I can let silence be my only comment. Number one, what comes up there? Well, first of all, yeah, I was treating you like you were a 5-year-old and I was being really disrespectful to you. And so, okay, there's embarrassment, there's shame. Breathe into that one for a moment. And if I can do that, if I can just breathe into it, and recognize, well, yeah, what he said was true. The fight doesn't have to happen. We don't have to have a battle. He's so good in his practice. He knows when I go quiet, he knows I'm doing my work. And so he'll go quiet too. And we just let silence be both of our only comment in that moment. And then when it happens, then we can very gently open a conversation door when we feel that frequency has gone down, when we feel the level of adrenaline has gone down. So we're in the rock tumbler of life, friends. I love Venerable uses the coal as a metaphor for how light purifies us. The pressure, it's pressure that turns coal into diamonds. Pressure. Well, we all know that when you're under pressure, if you're under emotional pressure, that's very, very uncomfortable. Very, and can be downright painful force of motion. If the body's under pressure, think of the last time you injured yourself and something swelled up, turned red and hot. That's what happens with physical pressure, is as it swells, it turns red and gets hot. Burns, that is burning away the imperfections. That's calling the white blood cells to the area. The heat calls the white blood cells to the area. That's all part of that purification, to purify that injury. And so the same sort of thing, it's a beautiful metaphor for how we are emotionally. And so keep that in mind, the rock tumbler of life. And I like the rock tumbler because if you've ever had a rock tumbler, you know that when you start out, you've got these beautiful colored rocks, but they're all jaggedy. There's some beauty in them already, but they're certainly not at their full potential as far as being a thing of real beauty. And so you stick these guys in the rock tumbler and you put a really coarse grit and some water. And you turn that thing on and you run it for a few days or a week. And then you stop the rock tumbler. Well, there's some really hard, if we use this metaphor, let's take it over to us. that when we're really in our coarsest level, we're very asleep to the spiritual realm, to our what we really are, and what we have the capacity to do as far as easing the suffering of other beings in the world. Some of us don't even think that way. It's me first. Look out for number one. Because nobody else is going to take care of, that whole sneaking thinking thing that the mind can go crazy with. And that's where life, in order to wake up a person who's at that level, you need the coarse grit. You need some hard lessons to break that stuff down. Last week, I spoke about poor previous President Trump, because that man is going through the hard grit right now. But he's been so asleep. He had to get them. That is such a beautiful blessing for him to be able to receive this, what he's receiving right now in this lifetime, and not die without having pared away some of that karma. Lord knows what that poor man will be facing on the other side of the veil if he got to get through all this just all easy, this is an amazing gift, and he comes to mind because he's suffering so greatly right now, and he's in everybody's face, basically on the news. But it's us too. We all do that at the beginning phases. We need the hard lessons of life. But after we start getting it and working our practice and waking up in the midst of each of these things, we need finer and finer grit. So we dump out those rocks and we look at them, and what do you know? Some of those sharp edges are gone now. We take a finer grain of grit, we put that in the rock tumbler, and we turn it on again. And with the water, it's got to have the water too. You got to have the suffering, and you got to have the love. The two go together. That's one reason why when beings are suffering, we want to be sure and send them love, whether they be beings in this world that are just in a physical form, or whether they be like the beings in the hungry ghost realm. The Buddha says that those who are in the hungry ghost realm cannot do anything to lift themselves out of it. They progress by our offering merit to ease their pain, to lift them up and transform them. So as a Catholic, we always prayed for the departed. And then when I came full circle around to Buddhism, I realized, we're praying for the departed. It's the same stuff. All of these beautiful wisdom traditions, they're like paths up the mountain. And each path will get you to the top of the mountain. The question is, what kind of a path do you need personally? We don't all need the same path. I might need a path, I'm strong, I need to keep my muscles strong. I might need a path that's relatively steep, and it keeps me strong on my way to my goal, my full awakening. But then there might be grandma over here who's walking with a walker. She can't do steep. She might need a path that winds this way and just goes up a little bit, and winds back and goes up a little bit. So it's all of these different wisdom traditions are here for a reason, because we are as different as our fingerprints. And so when you find your path, know that your path isn't the only path, and it isn't necessarily the right path for everyone, but it very much is the right path for you. So love your path, walk your path, and work it out. I'm going to give you a quote here from Anam Thupten, and he's from the Tibetan tradition. He says, a large portion of our life is formed by our habits, mainly from the thoughts and emotions that we unconsciously repeat every day. We often wake up each morning and fall into the same state of mind. That is, unless we begin the day by setting the intention to live consciously with awareness and mindfulness. The internal experiences we go through every day are not superimposed upon us by life or the universe. They are direct manifestation of accumulated karmic grooves. I have to read that again.
They are a direct manifestation of accumulated karmic grooves. You do it enough, you're gonna carve a groove, and it's gonna be hard to get out of the groove. Whereas if it was just flat ground, you could choose to just scoot on over. We feed them unknowingly. They are deep-seated habits that can become part of our being. Yet they are not the essence of who we are, and they are changeable. It is important to acknowledge that we are carrying all these old habits, and they are causing much suffering in our lives and in the lives of those whom we are in relationship with. The truth is, we can bring a positive impact to their lives as we continue to practice the Dharma. By acknowledging this on our path, we experience the genuine feeling that we don't want to live in that same state of consciousness anymore. We've suffered enough. We don't want to do this anymore. We want to change and to lead an exemplary life. We want to live consciously. That's the first step. You got to want to do it. If you don't want to do it, there's no hope for you until you want to do it. I also say that in the hungry ghost realm, that we can offer all this lovely merit, and it's there for them should they choose to pick it up. But even there's a choice. They can turn their back on it and suffer for eons. But if they're aware that we're offering merit for them, we're helping to lift them up, they can move on. They have to choose to do it. They have to pick it up. I noticed when I first came to Heartwood, the room that I live in is this first room over here. During the retreats, nobody wanted to be in that room because there was actually a ghost in there that had that old lady perfume smell. And it wouldn't always be there, and then you'd be in there and you'd feel that cold chill and you'd smell this old lady perfume. And people got freaked out by it. Nobody wanted, they called it the perfume lady's room. So Venerable said, she put me in there at one point because it was the only room. She goes, I'm sorry, you're going in the perfume lady's room. And it was like, actually, it reminds me of when I went to church as a kid, that smell of the old lady's perfume. And I liked it. And I only walked through her, she and I walked through each other twice in the entire time. We've been here 6 years now, I believe. And it only happened twice. And that first time when that became my room. And neither one of us liked that feeling of being, she doesn't want anything to do with this dimension. Ghost hunters don't bother us. You know, she has no intention to be interacting with us. And yet she was there up until very recently, this last year. I have not smelled the perfume lady. So I'm wondering, did she finally wake up? Did she pick up some of the merit that we've been offering on campus for our hungry ghosts? Perhaps. I don't know. But it's up to us to choose. We have to want to live consciously. Okay, so now modern science has now got a clearer picture of what happens in our brains. As we deal with life. The physical brain, it turns out, is much more pliable than we originally thought. Originally, they thought both the heart and the brain couldn't, I mean, what you had was what you had once you were an adult. And there was a wonderful doctor who discovered that the heart can actually regenerate. Dean Ornish, is that his name? Yeah, Dean Ornish. He was actually up for a Nobel Prize in medicine for discovering that the heart can regenerate. The brain can also regenerate. Plus, there's this plasticity thing where if a part of the brain gets damaged, other parts of the brain go, oh, you poor thing, I'll help you. And then a new piece of the brain will take over on that. And so I found a wonderful site online called the Harmony Health and Wellness website. And on that site, there's a thing, a little article called 7 Tenets of the Human Brain.
And I want to share those with you because when we're looking at the world through our spiritual eyes, sometimes depending on where we go with this or how we see it, we can appear rather woo-woo, is what Venerable calls it. We can appear kind of woo-woo to folks who really want to keep it real, like that kind of real, not that kind of real. And so those folks, if we can find the science pieces, our breathworking team here are wonderful because they give us not only the ancient Ayurvedic wisdoms and healing techniques, they also show us in good scientific literature how these different things are starting to be shown scientifically to be true. This helps so many people. It opens a whole new door for folks. And so this might open a door for you, or it might be something that will help you open the door for someone you can. Number one on these tenets is change can occur only when the brain is in the mood. Your point of attention affects the chemical on-off switches that allow learning to occur. We have chemical on-off switches that if we're not in the mood to learn, we're not going to learn. How many kids hate school? Do they get good grades? No. They're not in the mood to learn because of whatever. They are turned on by your attention to novelty and turned off by repeating already learned and non-challenging behaviors. So that's number one. Number two, change strengthens connection between neurons that are engaged at the same time. The brain changes its hardwired connections selectively as the behavior approximates the desired outcome. The desired outcome that we previously decided we wanted. So if we've got an outcome we're working towards, the hardwiring of the brain will actually start to unwire and rewire so that it can work more towards what our desired intention was. We set the intention, now the brain is actually physically, that's a beautiful thing. Set your intention for the day. That's what Anand Tutan just told us in the previous quote. That we need to, if we're going to not wake up and fall into those same patterns, we've got to set intention first thing. And this shows us that the brain actually physically changes its hardwiring when we set intention. This stuff is magical, guys, and it's really real. Okay, so number three, I get excited about it when science starts bearing out stuff that just feels true in my heart. You know? Neurons that fire together, wire together. Boy, that was our mantra when I was in chiropractic college. That's what the professors were teaching in every class. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And so the brain strengthens its connections between things that reliably occur in serial time. By saving these connections, it has the capacity to make continuous adjustable predictions about what goes with what and what will happen next. The point of attention, past memories, present sensory stimulation, and imagination all constantly blend as your brain weaves its own explanation of reality. And from that develops memories, skills, and dreams. Okay, the point of attention, past memories, present sensory stimulation, and how we imagine things to be are constantly blending together in the brain. This is constantly happening. And your brain is making up a story that makes sense to you based on those things. Your brain is making up the story. Sometimes the story never is the story absolutely 100% true for all beings at all times. Never. That's not a possibility. But it could be very true for you now. It could also be based on past experiences that were untrue at the time and they're still untrue. And so you've got your brain's doing its best job. It's not its fault. It's doing its best job to tell you what's real and what's true. But you've got all that past conditioning you've got to work through. And if you haven't done the work, you're still going to have your own colored filters put over truth. And sometimes to the point where there's an opaque filter covering part of the truth, and you just can't see it. Be gentle with yourself, but don't be gentle with your ego. All right, I guess maybe that was a little mean. Give tough love to your ego. That's a better way of looking at it. Because that ego wants to run the show. And I promise you, when the ego is running the show, suffering for yourself will take place. And if you open your mouth or act in that moment, suffering for others will also be inflicted at your hands. Okay, number 4. Initial changes are temporary. If the brain judges the experience to be interesting, exciting, or somehow novel, it relates to either a desirable or undesirable outcome, and it will release chemicals that make these connections permanent. Well, I don't like that word permanent. As Buddhists, we kind of know the only thing that's permanent in this life is when you're dead, you tend to stay dead. Other than that, everything is up to change, but pretty permanent. This happens all the time. This, quote, permanent wiring change occurs over and over in incremental layering systems. The boundaries of consciousness will either expand or contract directly according to what the point of attention is focused on. That one deserves to be read again. The boundaries of consciousness will either expand or contract directly according to what the point of attention is focused on. Pay attention, friends. Pay attention. It's one of your greatest tools. Brain plasticity is a two-way street. The point of attention drives the physical brain change just as easily towards positive as to negative. Chronic pain syndromes occur when the electrical signal from a pain sensory cell is overstimulated for a long time. And like anything that is practiced, playing the piano, riding a bike, anything, the brain gets really good at using these connections. So that any association, stimulation, like a smell, or smell is really a big one to bring stuff up, or somebody you don't like shows up. Any sort of stimulation will fire the whole wiring and further attract the point of attention into a vicious cycle. So you get a fragrance and you remember, oh, last time I smelled that. And then there goes the brain. And next thing you know, you're way down this road into an old child abuse situation that you didn't need to regurgitate. But your heart is hurting. You maybe even are crying. Adrenaline is flowing in the body. Your immune system is now being whacked. So being able to catch it in those moments. Unwanted bad habits continue to pester us because through years of repeated behavior, the brain has hardwired itself into that set of connections. It becomes entrenched into our entire understanding of ourselves. Our brain is always changing towards the point of attention. There it is. It's a two-sided sword. It's a curse on one side, but it also is your power. Point your attention where you choose. Don't let your ruts in the brain point your attention. When you catch it, when you see where it's going, stop it, turn it around, give it something lovely. People would say, think of a puppy, think of butterflies, change it to anything beautiful. Think of your last visit to Hawaii. If you've never been to Hawaii, think of it when you look down the internet. Where did you want to travel to? Think of anything like that, anything that brings beauty and wonderfulness up. Doesn't take long. I will tell you this, if you've allowed yourself to go down that road, it does take about 20 minutes. Once we triggered that adrenaline, about 20 minutes for the body to be able to reclaim those molecules. It's expensive for the body to make adrenaline. It's not going to just rinse it out in the kidneys. It's going to recycle all that. It's going to take down those molecules and put them into other places where it can use them. So 20 minutes. So if you think, okay, I just thought about puppies and butterflies, and I'm still feeling this jittery feeling in my chest, set your timer. Keep your mind on something beautiful. Listen to some songs you like, dance, sing, do something wonderful. Do it for 20 minutes if you have to. Just don't let your brain go right back into it. That's why television is such a problem. Marketers understand these principles and they use them very, very well. Is there anybody in here who can still sing a commercial from when you were a kid? Right. Yeah, the marketers know this stuff and they use it. Okay. Memory is crucial for learning. The brain is continually setting up models about where it thinks it is headed, constantly evaluating everything going on in the now with similar past and imagined outcomes. So it's going to past and future, and it spends very little time right here, right now. That's a big problem, friends. If you can get in the habit of when you find yourself in the past, unless it's where did I leave my car keys? Now that's a useful adventure to the past. But if it's just regurgitating, bring yourself back to here, right now. That beautiful place. Just be here now. And okay, try by try, it lays down neuronal patterns until the behavior becomes literally hardwired into the brain and becomes second nature to you. So the more you do this, bringing up the beauty, bringing up the wonderful, keep the curmudgeon quiet. The more you do it, the more beautiful and wonderful is going to come up naturally for you. Pretty soon, that old curmudgeon's going to get in his wheelchair. He's going to be sitting in the back corner somewhere. You're going to have to actually look for him to get a bad opinion. Silver linings are on every cloud, friends, every cloud. Don't forget to look for them. Enjoy the rain, but look for the silver linings. Motivation is a key factor in brain plasticity. The brain is far more pliable than we ever imagined. This knowledge is part of a species-wide awakening to who we are and why we're here. And so the plastic brain will unwire the old habits and begin laying down new circuits to accomplish the new task. We have more control than we realize because this is a slow process and the changes are so minute and subtle in our daily life, it requires that we reevaluate from time to time. Watch the moment mindfully and then reevaluate. Think about it. Like, how am I now different than I was 5 years ago? Watch your mind, intentions, and motivations like they were a hungry lion that is watching you. They have the capacity to cause you great suffering, but they also are your greatest tool for transformation. And as we spoke of last week from the Dhammapada, where the Buddha tells us, you are what you think, what you continually think and dwell upon, that becomes the leading of your mind. So hold the intention to bring more awareness to your daily life. Okay, let's see where are we? Oh, we're good. Okay. I would like to share with you a quote from Jack Kornfield. And he's talking, in this quote, he's talking about meditation on the cushion, but that off the cushion practice is the same practice as on the cushion, except we don't do it with our eyes closed, especially if we're driving. But you can use these very same things in your daily life when you're just going about daily life. If you remember, We've got all the tools. Our bags are filled with beautiful tools that help us to do this transformation, to make ourselves into the being we really want to be. We have the tools. The main reason it's not happening is we forget in the moment. We forget to use them. So Jack Kornfield says, meditation comes alive through a growing capacity to release our habitual entanglement in the stories, plans, conflicts, and worries that make up the small sense of self, and to rest in awareness. In meditation, we do this simply by acknowledging the moment-to-moment changing conditions, the pleasure and pain, the praise and blame, the litany of ideas and expectations that arise. Without identifying with them, we can rest in the awareness itself, beyond conditions, and experience what he calls our natural lightness of heart. And that's where we'll go if we do this, if we stay there. So walk it out. We can employ this awareness or wise attention from the very start, when we first sit down to meditate, or when we first get up from meditating, or when you first wake up in the morning. The best strategy is to simply notice whatever state of body and mind is present. The Buddha instructs his followers to observe whether the body and mind are distracted or steady, angry or peaceful, excited or worried, contracted or released, bound up or free. So noticing the state in which our mind and body are in. That's a good practice just in daily life to set an alarm. My brother does this. He has this mindfulness alarm where he'll set it to go off once an hour, but he can get it to go off like at random times too. And so his little bell will ring, and then he calls himself to, where am I? What's going on right now? What is the state of my mind in this moment? And then once we know where we are, we can change it. We can choose a path that gets us to our goal. If we don't know where we are, we're swept up in that whirlwind again. So we've got to remember to stay mindful. If it means setting an alarm, do it. Whatever we got to do. If it means carrying around a Post-it, tick all the times that you thought a negative thought so you can see what your patterns are. You got to know where you are to get where you're going. From this ground of acceptance, we can learn to use the transformative power of attention in a flexible and malleable way. Wise attention, mindfulness, can function like a zoom lens. Often it is most helpful to steady our practice with close-up attention. Entanglement in our ordinary sense of self will dissolve. Our troubles and fears will drop away. Our entire experience of the world shows itself to be impermanent, ungraspable, and selfless. Wisdom is born. I love it. I just love it. So hold the intention to bring more awareness into your everyday lives. All right. So we've got just a few more minutes here. What I'd like to do is I would like to share another song with you. But before I do, I want you to just go inside and receive. I'm going to just read to you the lyrics of this song. And we're going to receive it as a meditation where we really absorb the truth of these lyrics. Could there be more than this life we call mine, than a journey through space or a storyline? More to life than the body can sense, than the mind can conclude from experience? Does who we are begin with breath, depend on form, or end with death? Strip away these roles, these names, and tell me what remains of who you really are. Who you really are. We measure success by the things we accrue, or the bonds that we form, or the deeds we do. These too shall pass. Hard as we try to hold on to form, forms will die. Inherent in this dance of form is a chance to see what's yet unborn. The choice to throw this chance away and be caught up in the play of who we think we are. Who we think we are. This is your lifetime. It could end at any time. Where's your attention? Where's your prayer? Where's your song? Unfortunately, comes a call to be free from this cycle of bondage, this identity, to away from this dream and finally realize the truth of one's being before the body dies. So before the final scene is past, see the screen on which it's cast. See what seeing this meaning you. And then you will see who you really are. So I'm going to make this into a song for you. Actually, I'm not. Britannia already did that. Could there be more than this life we call mine? Than a journey through space or a storyline? More to life than the body can sense, then the mind can conclude from experience. Just who we are, begin with breath, depend on form, or end with death. Strip away these roles, these names, and tell me what remains. Who you really are. Who you really are. We measure success by the things we accrue, or the bonds that we form, or the deeds we do. These too shall pass, hard as we try to hold on to form. Forms will die. Inherent in this dance of form is a chance to see what's yet unborn. The choice to throw this chance away and be caught up in the play of who we think we are, who we think we are. This is your lifetime. It could end at any time. Where's your attention? Where is your prayer? Where is your song? Fortunately, comes a
finally realize the truth of one's being before the body dies. So before the final scene is past, see the screen on which it's cast. See what's seeing this me and you, and then you will see who you really are, who you really are, who we really are. So I'd like to leave you with a quote from a Zen master, Lu Kuan. He lived 1670 to 1742. And he says, the great way of reality is our true nature's pure ocean. The source of mind penetrates everywhere. From the roots of virtue springs the practice of compassion, precepts, concentration, and insight. The nature and function of all three are one. The fruit of transcendent wisdom can be realized by being wonderfully together. Maintain and transmit the wonderful principle in order to reveal the true teaching. For the realization of true emptiness to be possible, wisdom and action must go together. So life is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the ride. I'd like to offer a little song of merit for all beings. May all beings be enlightened, and may they all be assisted on their path by our practice. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can bind in giving unity, may their minds awaken to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise.
Thank you, friends, for joining us. Thank you, friends out in the cyber world. And those of you who are actually here in person, please know that you are all invited to come to lunch with us. We'd like to have a community lunch with you over here in the cafe. So I'll meet you over there.